Over 60? Discover 4 incredible nuts that transform your health and 4 shocking ones to avoid. Martha Santos paused, staring hard at the innocuous document in her hands. The rain pattered against her living room window, a steady rhythm that mirrored the weight settling on her chest. After decades of pouring love and dedication into her family, she found herself adrift, a ship anchored in a harbor with no crew. As she rifled through the assortment of papers left behind by her late husband, she felt a flicker of hope, a new purpose. Encouraged, she dove into the pages filled with recipes and health journals, only to come across an enlightening segment on nuts. Nuts, she whispered to herself, her heart racing at the thought. She had always loved cooking, but now she could forge a new legacy, one that helped her family lead healthier lives. Yet, deep within, a nagging doubt crept in. Would they care? Could she really shift their perceptions, a monumental task that felt daunting? The thought of sharing her newfound knowledge thrilled her, yet a paralyzing fear accompanied it. What if her son Jake dismissed her ideas again? After pouring every ounce of her heart into family gatherings, she suddenly felt hollow, like a shell with nothing within. Would anyone even listen? Fueled by determination, Martha envisioned the upcoming family reunion. She prepared, capable hands transforming the kitchen into a sanctuary of vibrant, healthy dishes bursting with the flavor of different nuts. Each recipe felt like a love letter, yet anxiety shadowed her glee. What if, in trying to help, she ended up pushing them away? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the reunion day approached, Martha's apprehension grew heavier, like the storm clouds outside. Jake's dismissive comments echoed in her mind, embedding themselves into her thoughts. Mom's health fads, he said, shaking his head as if she had no idea what she was talking about. It stung more than she anticipated. With each return to the kitchen, her spirit wavered. Each dessert, every salad, and dish came with a new layer of doubt. Would they be critical, scoffing at her attempts? Or worse, would they overlook her completely? The moment finally arrived. The tantalizing scent of roasted pecans and almonds mingled with fresh vegetables and spices wafted through her home. Family began to gather, and Martha's heart raced nervously. As they settled into the dining room, she felt the familiar warmth of their presence, but the electricity of unresolved tension simmered beneath. Jake's furrowed brow and crossed arms added to the swell of apprehension. Would she risk everything to bridge the gap, to guide them toward a healthier life? Knowing that it might challenge their connections, as she shared her discoveries, she could see the twist in Jake's expression, skepticism resurfacing in the furrows of his brow. Just as she hoped the family would embrace her, right on the precipice of acceptance, his voice cut through the air, raw and loud with disbelief. What makes you think you know better than the experts? The laughter fell away, and she stood frozen, the fragile threads of family and trust in her hands, tipping precariously toward a confrontation she had feared. The weight of her heart swayed between profound love and desperation, unsure of whether this moment would build bridges or shatter them entirely. Martha's heart thundered, the sound echoing in her ears as she stood at a crossroads. The words hung in the air, suspended between them like a fragile glass ball, threatening to shatter. Did Jake truly believe she was a mere purveyor of outdated advice? Her fingers trembled around the serving spoon as she tried to collect her thoughts. It was frustrating to see her son dismiss everything she had worked tirelessly to introduce into their lives. Taking a deep breath, she locked eyes with Jake, her determination igniting. "I may not be an expert, but I have done my research," she said, her voice shaking slightly, yet laced with conviction. "These changes can help us help you, help the kids. I'm trying to prepare a future for our family, not just serve a meal." The silence thickened, gathering tension like storm clouds in the sky. The other family members glanced at each other, uncertain onlookers to this familial brawl. Martha felt the weight of their anticipation, the judgment seeping into the atmosphere. This was no longer just about healthy eating. It was about her place within the family. A desire to advocate for herself alongside her family became the fire fueling her veins. Jake shifted in his chair, a skeptical look clouding his features. But do you even know what you're talking about? You are just serving up health trends meant for influencers, he replied, his voice layered with condescension. Martha could feel her stomach knot at the judgment, but she refused to falter this time. Would she allow a single comment to undermine her entire effort? You call it a trend, but it's what I've discovered about our health, she countered. Martha felt the urgency swelling within her, raising her stakes higher than she ever anticipated. This confrontation wasn't merely with Jake. It struck at the heart of all her vulnerabilities. Could she truly convey the depths of her love for them and how much she cared about their well-being? As the discussion unexpectedly escalated, Martha's brothers chimed in, taking sides. Honestly, Martha, we always enjoyed your cooking. Why change it? I'm not ready for quinoa cookies or kale salads, one brother quipped, laughter erupting from the crowd. She sensed the room shifting, leaning toward laughter rather than support, and her confidence threatened to simmer down. Eager to transform the laughter into a beacon of understanding, Martha began to realize that she might need a different approach. Perhaps she had ridden in on a wave of energy too fervently. I'll make a deal, she challenged, her expression shifting from pleading to confident. Let me prepare a few dishes this week. You don't have to dive in completely, but will you give them a fair chance? Sounds of confusion rippled through the group, but Martha pressed on. Taste them. If you don't like them, I want to bring them up again. The challenge hung in the air, a tug-of-war of wills. Martha felt a flicker of power ignite within her. She had not only proposed a budget-friendly compromise, but had also asserted her autonomy. Across the table, Jake's gaze softened, and for a brief moment, she saw a hint of reluctance alongside the defiance. The knife's edge between affection and exasperation began to blur. Fine, he replied, his tone less acerbic. But if you want me to take you seriously, you'll need to make it worthwhile. As Martha watched his face transition, a glimmer of hope broke through her initial doubts. It wasn't just about nuts or health. It was about reclaiming her voice and placing worth back into her role as a mother. In steering the conversation from rejection to possibility, she unearthed a path of mutual discovery. Later that evening, as everyone left, she reflected on her triumph, however small. She had entered the fray hesitant and emerged not scorned but emboldened. Martha knew the journey ahead would not be easy. It would be a constant navigation through acceptance and skepticism. Yet, beneath the fear of judgment, a steady current of resolve flowed within her. She would not merely serve as the chef in her family. She would also become their advocate for change. As she looked out of her kitchen window, the rain began to wash away the remnants of doubt, leaving clarity in its wake. Suddenly, her phone buzzed a notification of an online health seminar about integrating dietary changes into family settings. The perfect opportunity, but also a challenge. The prospect excited her, but a voice nudged her internally. Would she dare to step into the spotlight, share her family's evolving journey with others, and face new critics? The question lingered, an irresistible pull guiding her toward a fresh horizon. Martha's heart raced at the prospect of the seminar. The opportunity felt both thrilling and daunting, a chance to amplify her voice beyond the confines of her kitchen. She took a moment to breathe, allowing the weight of her decision to settle in. This was not merely about food. It was a pivotal step in reclaiming her identity. Having spent so many years nurturing her family's needs, prioritizing their preferences over her own growth, she realized this was time to shift the narrative. The next morning, while preparing breakfast, Martha scrolled through the seminar details. The host was a well-respected nutritionist whose expertise transcended trendy diets and focused on sustainable health practices for families. She felt an inkling of enthusiasm, the potential to learn and network with others who shared her aspirations. However, alongside the excitement simmered a gnawing anxiety. Could she truly engage in this environment? Would she find her footing among the experts? Fueled by her recent confrontation with Jake, Martha determined she wouldn't allow fear to inhibit her progress. All her years of cooking and researching health could culminate in something far greater than momentary family dinners. She could advocate for genuine change, not just in her household, but for others too. With an assertiveness she had only recently cultivated, Martha signed up for the seminar, resisting the impulse to second-guess herself. Introspection followed. What was she hoping to gain? Knowledge, sure, but ultimately, it boiled down to confidence. She would not surrender her voice to silence, nor discard her insights as irrelevant trends. This was her time to bloom, to transform her vulnerability into strength. As the week progressed, Martha journaled her thoughts, reflecting on what she hoped to convey during the seminar. She practiced speaking her truths, rehearsing them to the stark kitchen walls that had often comforted her. Her ideas pulsed like a rhythm, demanding to be articulated beyond the dense air of skepticism she felt at home. She envisioned standing there, alongside others who shared her struggles and aspirations, discussing the importance of wholesome meals and heartfelt connections. Her family, meanwhile, remained under her culinary experiment. The first evening, she prepared a vegetable stir-fry infused with spices and airy noodles, abandoning the mundane recipes of old. She brandished the dishes with flair, eager to entice them with a refreshing experience of food. Jake eyed the plate warily, his earlier skepticism brewing a fresh storm within him. But as he tasted, a flicker of surprise crossed his face. "It's not bad," he admitted slowly, a hint of reluctance still betraying his demeanor. Encouraged by this small victory, Martha felt momentum building within her. She decided not to overanalyze it. Encouragement didn't always come in the form of grand gestures. It was this subtle progress, these small victories at home, that propelled her. If her family could embrace even a semblance of change, why couldn't she share such journeys with a broader audience? The shift from self-doubt to aspiring influencer ran parallel with her family's gradual acceptance of new foods. In moments of quiet introspection, doubt occasionally crept back in, whispering that she still lacked credentials. Yet, Martha grasped onto her resilience. She would not go to the seminar as an imposter. She would be a beacon of real change, a mother advocating for her family's health experience, standing on the cusp of more significant professional aspirations. On the day of the seminar, she donned her go-to blazer, the one that made her feel audaciously equipped. She studied herself in the mirror, pushing past the nagging insecurities. This was the moment where her potential could intersect with her reality. But as she entered the virtual space filled with expert faces and nascent ideas, a surge of anxiety coursed through her veins. Was she truly ready to share her narrative under such scrutiny? And then, with a deep breath, she clicked join. As the screen blinked to life, she felt her heart pounding in synchronization with the fresh possibilities unfolding before her. But just as she began to settle in, the seminar host posed an unexpected question. What drives your passion for health? In that instant, she realized the time had come to confront her deepest fears, to unveil her truth, and to harness her experience into a story that could resonate with countless others. With all eyes virtually on her, the weight of the moment pressed down, but a wave of determination washed over her. The time to face the audience, and herself, had truly arrived. Martha's breath caught in her throat as she grappled with the weight of the question hanging in the digital air. Memories swirled within her, a montage of clattering pots, the soft laughter of her children around the dinner table, the comforting aroma of spices wafting through her home. They were the backdrop to her culinary journey, the very fabric of her passion for health. But did they encapsulate what mattered most about her mission? Why am I passionate about health? The answer felt daunting, the kind of complexity simmering just beneath the surface of her consciousness. It wasn't merely about cooking. It was about empowerment, her desire to create vibrant, nourishing meals that could knit her family closer together. With her heart thumping loudly in her chest, she focused on the sincere intent behind her culinary endeavors. My passion for health stemmed from my family's needs, she began, every word igniting a spark of newfound clarity. For years, I have watched how our meals affect our mood, energy levels, and overall connection. Healthy food isn't just fuel. It's how we bond, build our memories, and ultimately define our lives together. As she spoke, Martha's voice gained a rhythm, blending candor and authority she hadn't expected to wield. Images of vibrant dishes danced across her mind, reminding her of each successful attempt to encourage her family to try something new. The great stir-fry had surprised Jake. That was a small yet pivotal step towards change. With every anecdote she shared, Martha felt an exhilaration like she was shedding layers of doubt. Her responses sparked nods and supportive comments from the virtual audience, an empowering feedback loop she had dreamed about. Little by little, the seminar morphed from an intimidating space into a platform for sharing her story. She discussed imperfections to the moments of doubt, when Jake would huff at avocados, or the silent retreats of rejection when her children wouldn't even touch quinoa. Each challenge she navigated imbued her narrative with authenticity. The seminar progressed, but her heart remained steadfast. Each question posed by the host felt like an invitation to delve deeper into her motivations. How could she elevate this topic into something more than a mere narrative of domesticity? This was about redefining wellness and creating mindful eaters. She considered her role as an advocate for change, not just in her home, but as a voice for other mothers grappling with similar challenges. The conversation then shifted towards practical solutions for achieving family-friendly health, and Martha's pulse quickened. She envisioned herself leading workshops, sharing recipes and stories, reaching out to others who wrestled with similar insecurities. An idea bubbled up: a community of mothers, each one empowered to change their children's perspectives on food through shared experiences and learning. Suddenly, a new worry flickered in her mind. Would this newfound confidence dissipate when faced with the tangible world? Would she have the courage to act on these aspirations in the light of day, away from the supportive anonymity of the screen? As the seminar drew to a close, Martha found herself clinging to the encouragement from her peers. They were curious and receptive, prompting her to contemplate even further steps beyond this experience. Could she turn her passion into a larger initiative? A resource for moms like herself, for families navigating the journey towards healthful living together. With the last moments of the session winding down, a sense of fear crept in again, threatening to reshape her resolve. The flickers of doubt, imposter syndrome, cautionary whispers were chanting loudly. Yet, the contrast of vulnerability and strength filled her chest with energy. Martha made a promise to herself: the seminar would be the springboard for her next steps. Resolute, she jotted down ideas and potential topics for her own forum, each line empowering her to commit to the vision that had begun to unfold. As she exited the virtual space, a lingering sense of excitement mingled with anxiety danced in her veins. The horizon ahead was expansive, yet perilous. But she felt a compelling tug to step into the unknown. The time for excuses had elapsed. She needed to confront herself once more. And just as she pondered her next move, an email notification chimed on her phone, a message from one of the seminar participants that read, "Would love to talk more about your ideas on healthy eating for families. Can we connect?" In that pivotal moment, a wave of exhilaration washed over her. The possibilities were beginning to unfold, but there lay a crucial decision ahead. Was she ready to engage in this new dialogue that could lead to a greater impact in her life and those around her? Martha stared at her phone, her heart racing with a blend of excitement and anxiety. The email glowed on the screen, a digital lifeline to connect her budding dreams with the reality she had so long evaded. She could hardly believe it. Someone wanted to engage, to discuss ideas she had only dared to whisper to herself in quiet moments. "Can we connect?" The words echoed in her mind, reverberating against her inner doubts. Was she truly ready to step outside her comfort zone? She felt the familiar dance of indecision swirling within her, but this time, the thread of determination tugged at her just a bit stronger. As she pondered her response, memories flashed vividly: the sight of her children's faces tasting something new, the hesitance that lingered in the air when she introduced them to unfamiliar flavors. Each moment held lessons that could shape her future, and she realized that sharing these experiences was vital to transforming not just her family's health, but potentially many others as well. Martha knew then that this was no longer just about her passion. It was about taking a step into leadership to guide others through their struggles with food and family bonding. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as she crafted her response, each keystroke a commitment to her newfound vision. She would set a time to talk, to listen, and to share. After hitting send, Martha felt a mix of giddiness and fear ripple through her. The path she envisioned ahead was slowly illuminating, but her anxiety morphed into determination. She needed a structure, a plan, something concrete to give form to her ideas. Perhaps she should outline topics, objectives, and potential outcomes for her consultations. Her mind churned as she thought about what she might discuss during the impending call. Recipes? Strategies? But beyond that, she realized her goal was to cultivate empowerment not just for herself, but for other mothers navigating the complexities of family health. As she mulled over her vision, she felt ambition unfurl within her, blossoming in the knowledge that she could indeed make a difference. Driven by a sense of urgency, Martha opened her notebook to jot down an outline for potential topics. Empowerment through nutrition, she wrote, also adding anecdotes to anchor her points. Her own kitchen stories could become a resource, a way to connect emotionally with others. Overcoming resistance, children and vegetable acceptance, she scribbled, recalling Jake's journey with avocados. Armed with this list, she felt the fear of inadequacy start to wane. After a few hours, her outlines took on a life of their own. Transitioning from anxiety to action, she realized that this was the most progress she had made in years. But lurking beneath her excitement was a shadow of uncertainty. What if she lacked the authority others had? Would she be able to inspire trust in her community? That night, she skimmed through her notes, feeling an invigorating sense of purpose pulsing through her veins. The conversation with the seminar participant lingered in her mind, becoming more than just a call. It represented an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery, illuminating pathways she had yet to explore. Just as she nestled into bed, a new email pinged, breaking her focus. Peering at the notification, her breath caught once again. "I believe in your ideas, and I want to support you." Read the message from the participant. "Let us make something impactful together." In that moment, a cascade of options unfurled in her mind: collaborations, partnerships, shared resources. But amidst the thrill, she felt trepidation return. Engaging with this other person could lead to heightened expectations or challenge her burgeoning sense of competence. What if she faltered in front of another passionate advocate? Determination and doubt entwined as she closed her laptop. The next chapter of her journey lay just ahead, with complications and opportunities waiting to collide. Martha fell asleep with thoughts of her imminent conversation spiraling through her mind. Was this the pivotal moment that would define her evolution as an advocate, or would it slip through her fingers like so many ideas before? The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting gentle shadows across the room. Martha awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, but was met by the residual whispers of doubt that had cushioned her night's reflections. Today was pivotal. The meeting loomed ahead, and she could feel the weight of expectation pressed down on her. Would she voice her ideas with clarity and conviction, or would she retreat into the shadows where self-doubt often lurked? After a quick breakfast, she stood in front of the mirror, rehearsing her thoughts. Each phrase felt important, yet she sensed an unnerving dissonance between her aspirations and the trepidation coiling within. "I am knowledgeable. I can guide others," she affirmed, but the reflection that stared back seemed less certain. Was she being honest with herself, or only putting on a brave front? The time drew near. Martha settled into her chair, laptop open, the digital interface a gateway, both exhilarating and terrifying. The scheduled call shadowed her mind, intensifying her pulse. She stared at her notes, the ink swirling with her dreams, yet each detail held a flicker of insecurity. Would her anecdotes resonate? Would her strategies reflect authority or merely echo her experiences as a learner? When the video call connected, Martha's heart sank momentarily at the sight of the participant, confident, polished, and brimming with enthusiasm. "Thanks for taking the time today, Martha," her interlocutor began. "What inspired you to reach out?" Caught off guard by the question, Martha hesitated. She had rehearsed her professional persona, but this wasn't merely about credentials. It was about authentic connection. "I started cooking for my family to improve our health," she stammered, fighting the urge to retract. "And through that, I discovered how powerful food can be in shaping relationships and well-being." As the words tumbled forth, the initial nerves gave way to an easing rhythm. The more she spoke, the more her confidence bubbled to the surface. Sharing her experiences became an act of liberation. Her stories were not mere offerings of advice, but threads that could weave a community. She discussed the challenges she faced with her children and how she developed strategies that transformed their meals. She could see the other person nodding, engaged, unearthing the potential that Martha herself was initially shy to claim. The conversation flowed organically, questions mixed with shared insights. They explored themes of empowerment and engagement, with Martha realizing her capacity to inspire as she engaged her counterpart with honest reflection. The profound understanding of food's impact shifted from her personal anecdotes to a shared vision for empowering other families. By the time she concluded, Martha felt the tension dissipate like mist under the sun, revealing a path toward proactive collaboration. "I believe we can create impactful resources together," her new ally said, eyes brightening with possibility. "What if we co-host a workshop, share stories, and provide practical tips to engage families in a new way?" Caught off guard yet propelled by excitement, Martha felt her earlier anxieties dissolve into ambition. This was more than an email, it was a calling. But as they explored further ideas, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. Was she equipped to sustain this new partnership? Engaging deeply meant friendship, vulnerability, and accountability. The conversation closed, but the exhilaration was quickly followed by the suffocating panic of impending expectations. Could she maintain the momentum? Was she truly ready for this leap? As she gathered her notes and reflected on the exciting possibilities, the complexities of collaboration loomed large. But as doubts crested, so too did a fierce resolve to step forward. Her phone buzzed again. Another email, sparking a mixture of urgency and fear. "Let's start outlining our first project," it read. Martha froze momentarily, thoughts racing. The next step would not just define her work, it could change her life. Would she embrace the challenge, or recede once again into uncertainty? The screen glowed, illuminating not just an invitation but a test of her commitment. The moment felt charged. What would her answer reveal about the woman she was becoming? Martha inhaled deeply, her heart racing as she stared at the glowing screen. Each tick of the clock amplified the weight of the moment. The question loomed. Would she seize the opportunity or shy away? Her finger hovered over the keyboard, a paradox of potential and pressure pulsing through her. Drafting a reply, she weighed every word. Excited to get started. "Let's outline our first project." The simplicity of her response masked a storm of apprehension. This was more than an acknowledgement. It was a set of expectations she feared she might fail to fulfill. Days turned into a flurry of tasks as Martha immersed herself in the partnership. She drafted outlines, researched workshops, and brainstormed content, all while battling the internal dialogues that questioned her every move. What if I run out of ideas? What if my knowledge isn't enough? Yet, with each small victory and innovative concept here, a clever strategy, there she found echoes of resilience building within. Still, the nights were restless, filled with obsessive thoughts of inadequacy. She would wake, palms sweaty, replaying every interaction with her collaborator. How could she contribute meaningfully? Was her expertise sufficient? As the hours flickered past, Martha resolved to turn these moments into fuel for growth. The self-doubt would not define her. As weeks passed, she met regularly via video call with her partner. Each conversation felt more comfortable than the last, layers of formality peeling away as their shared vision strengthened. With each exchanged idea, confidence surged through her veins like electricity. She began integrating her unique insights about food and well-being more freely into their discussions, noticing the way her co-host responded with admiration that further buoyed her spirits. However, the challenge of tangible action hovered ominously. Fear of the inevitable presenting their workshop to the eager community loomed large. The prospect of standing in front of an audience sent shivers down her spine. In her mind, the audience morphed into faceless critics. Can I inspire them? The question gnawed at her. Motivated by this simmering insecurity, Martha sought ways to hone her public speaking skills, enrolling in online classes and seeking constructive feedback from peers. Specifically, she focused on developing an authentic narrative style to share her journey, echoing the same engaging approach that had marked her previous conversations. With each practice session, she crafted her stories, layering wisdom with vulnerability, and began to reframe her anxiety as anticipation for what she could offer. Yet, in her moments of introspection, Martha realized that this journey ran deeper than public speaking. It struck at her core belief of self-worth. Each step taken was a confrontation with the narrative she had carried, that she was not enough. Every workshop outline and feedback request pushed against that limiting belief, slowly molding a new identity into existence. The day of their first workshop approached with an unsettling urgency. Meeting again with her partner to finalize details, Martha felt her usual excitement curdle with anxiety. What if we flop? What if I can't connect? The prospect of failure nagged at her thoughts, driving her to prepare relentlessly. She practiced one last time in front of the mirror, watching as her reflection transformed, brushing off insecurities. She realized she wasn't just talking about food or health, she was sharing her story, weaving her journey through experiences that could resonate. This felt far more significant than any workshop metrics that on the eve of their workshop. A flurry of emails from potential participants sparked renewed hope, but also intensified her nervousness. Each ping was a reminder the time had come, and the realization hit hard. Whether she succeeded or stumbled, this was part of her evolution. As she hit send on one last email, the agenda for their workshop, Martha felt an electric buzz of anticipation mingled with her fears. The moment was now. She would either embrace it or retreat yet again. What lay beyond that door, satisfaction or embarrassment, could only be discovered by stepping through. With a deep breath, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow will be the day I reclaim my voice." The next morning was met with the brightness of dawn, but also the daunting reality of the impending workshop. Would she find the strength to move forward, or would her fears drag her back into the shadows? The atmosphere was electric, a palpable mixture of excitement and dread. Martha stood backstage, the rhythmic pulse of her heart synchronized with the low hum of the audience as she peered through the curtain. The room was filled with faces expectantly awaiting the workshop she'd worked so hard to prepare, yet her mind swirled with question marks. Would they resonate with her story? Would she falter under the spotlight? With a final inhale that felt more like a lifeline than a breath, she stepped out. The bright lights illuminated her, casting a spotlight on not just her figure, but her fears as well. For a moment, silence enveloped her, and she felt exposed, vulnerable. "Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today." The words stumbled out, her usual poised demeanor replaced by a quaky enthusiasm. She had rehearsed this opening countless times, yet the palpable energy of the room stilled the fluency she had practiced. As she launched into their carefully crafted agenda, presenting the joys of well-being through the lens of food, a flicker of confidence ignited within her. The audience smiled, nodding in agreement, drawing her in. With each passing minute, she discovered a rhythm, her nerves morphing into a kind of exhilaration that felt foreign but liberating. Martha realized that this shared space wasn't just a platform for her knowledge. It was a confluence of collective experiences. Midway through her presentation, she introduced a humorous anecdote about her own journey with health, and instead of rehearsed perfection, she embraced her imperfections. Laughter erupted, and with it, her heart swelled. Those tiny connections, strangers resonating with her struggles, helped dissolve the brick wall of her fears. Yet, there lurked an unsettling question within her mind. What if the laughter faded? What if after these light moments, she stumbled over the factual parts of their presentation? Vulnerability was becoming her ally, but so too was the knowledge that the audience's response could shift at any moment. Pushing through that tightness in her throat, Martha acknowledged the fear that swept over her. Let us talk about the 4 incredible nuts you can incorporate into your diet to transform your health. With a deftness that surprised even her, she transitioned into crucial information, the mechanics of nutrition and well-being intertwined with personal reflections. Each point resonated deeply, the synergy between facts and narrative dynamics drawing the audience closer. When the time came to engage them through interactive questions, an unexpected surge of confidence surged. What are your thoughts on these nuts? Any favorites or ones that have surprised you? As hands shot up, a dialogue unfolded that took the workshop beyond mere presentation. It blossomed into a communal experience. Yet, lurking in the back of her mind was another fear: the backlash from dissenting thoughts, those who might challenge her ideas. The critical voices she once cultivated inside appeared muted but still echoed ominously. What if they think I'm not credible? What if they share negative experiences? The self-doubt teased her, momentarily dimming her newly found shine. But instead of retreating into silence, Martha leaned into the discomfort. When a participant raised a skeptical question, Rather than freezing, she responded with curiosity. That's an interesting perspective. Tell me more. This moment transformed. She wasn't just a presenter, but a facilitator of learning, opening the room for authentic dialogue. As the workshop progressed, Martha began to witness something profound within herself. Each interaction tested her resolve, but she met those challenges with openness and authenticity, slowly threading herself into the fabric of the community around her. When the workshop concluded, applause filled the air, and she stepped off the stage elated yet exhausted. She had not only survived, she had thrived. The realization that her fears would always be present but did not have to dictate her actions began to settle in. Later, while packing her notes and equipment, a message notification from her co-host lit up her phone. "You were incredible today. This is just the beginning." But beneath that joy lingered a new thought. How would she navigate this newfound success? Would she allow herself to own her capabilities, or would fear still lurk behind her achievements? Martha paused, pondering the next layer of her journey. This was merely a stepping stone. What came next? As she gazed out at the departing audience, a swell of ambition coursed through her. The real challenge was confronting the next steps, the next workshop, the next doubt. With a burgeoning sense of purpose, she thought, the moment of truth arrived. What will I do with it? As the remnants of applause faded and the lights dimmed, Martha stood lost in thought, her mind racing faster than her heart had during the workshop. The exhilaration of engaging with her audience was still coursing through her, but the weight of reality came crashing down. Success had felt exhilarating, yet it also cast a long shadow. What now? Would her next endeavor scale the heights she had just reached, or would it plunge her back into the abyss of self-doubt? She made her way out of the venue, the echo of audience laughter still reverberating in her ears, but as she stepped into the cool evening air, an unsettling silence enveloped her. The familiar voices that clamored inside her head began their drumroll of uncertainty once more. She found herself questioning her preparedness for the future, worrying whether the next presentation would reveal her inadequacy or perhaps even expose her newfound confidence as a facade. On the subway ride home, she fished for a journal hidden deep in her bag, seeking solace in her written thoughts, a habit she had clung to through past storms of self-doubt. As the train jolted along, she began scribbling down reflections about what had gone well and where she could improve. The words spilled out faster than she could articulate them in person. Engagement was a key. Lean into humor. Importantly, I must prepare for critical questions. Each sentence solidified her memories of the day, but also compelled her to confront her weaknesses. The skepticism she felt from the audience echoed louder than the cheers. Could she continue to invite opposing viewpoints? The thought felt daunting, yet she recognized this was an important step in solidifying her credibility and evolving her approach. By the time she reached her stop, the weight of that realization bore down heavily. Instead of escaping to the comfort of her home, she decided to wander into a cozy cafe nearby. The rich aroma of coffee and warm pastries coaxed her into a seat by the window, where she would be free to spiral deeper into her thoughts, or so she thought. Instead of solace, a new wave of urgency pushed her forward. Martha was determined to push herself out of her comfort zone and brainstorm concepts for her next workshop. The blank canvas of a new page in her notebook had unexpected power, an invitation to face her fears directly. She jotted down titles, potential topics, and was struck by an idea that felt uniquely ambitious: debunking food myths. What's fact and what's fiction? The phrase sparked a connection, the challenge igniting a fire within her. What if she could take skeptics head-on? What if this workshop could serve as not just an exploration of nutritional truths, but as a platform for wrestling with the doubts surrounding her journey? Suddenly, the stage felt less intimidating, more like the arena where she would stand tall amidst varying opinions. Armed with knowledge, as she drafted her agenda, she stopped, a wave of uncertainty crashing upon her again. Could she truly confront all the contradictions and criticisms? What if old fears resurfaced, doubt clouding the clarity she had just grasped? This time, rather than retreating, she decided to embrace the skepticism. Each point she drafted served as a mental preemptive strike against the inner critic she had struggled to silence for years. With determination surging through her, Martha resolved to gather credible research, anecdotes, and testimonies that would fortify her stance. She could no longer afford to let fear dictate her narrative. Each piece of knowledge was a step toward empowerment, and she owed it to her future self to ascend instead of recoil. With the cafe closing around her, she sensed time slipping away, but the urgency of this new task pulled her deeper into her notes. She left, words echoing in her mind. This is where I stand. This is where I fight. In that moment, the fears that once threatened to devour her transformed into an empowering challenge, one she felt she might actually relish. As she stepped back into the night, a growing excitement accompanied her. She was ready to confront the skeptics, to position herself as both an educator and a learner. Would this new workshop be the turning point she had always hoped for? Would she emerge victorious, or would doubt threaten to rear its head once more in a different form? The stakes felt higher than ever, and the next chapter of her journey beckoned. Little did she know, the inner battles of self-doubt would soon be met with voices much louder and more discordant than her own. The morning sun streamed into Martha Santos' kitchen, illuminating the vibrant array of ingredients laid out on her counter. Today marked a significant turning point. She was ready to lead a workshop titled Debunking Food Myths. What's fact and what's fiction? It wasn't merely a project. This was her declaration of self-worth, a testament to her evolution from a hesitant home cook to a confident advocate for family health. As she prepared, the familiar wave of anxiety rippled through her. Yet, unlike before, this anxiety felt different, charged with anticipation rather than overshadowed by self-doubt. With discernible strides, she arranged her notes, ensuring her anecdotes and substantial research were right at hand. The mere act of outlining her workshop filled her with an empowered energy. She was no longer maneuvering in half-light, but boldly stepping into the glow of recognition. Martha recalled the fears she'd grappled with in the past, the dread of judgment from family, the skepticism from peers, the haunting whispers of inadequacy. But layered beneath that history was a wealth of experience, a tapestry woven from countless meals shared with her family, each one a building block of why she championed health. Upon arriving at the venue, her heart raced with a blend of excitement and nerves as she set up. The space buzzed with mumbled conversations, curiosity evident in the glances her way. She exhaled, recalling a mantra from her last workshop: embrace the engagement. She would not only speak the facts but engage her audience, inviting them to share their thoughts, peel back the layers of skepticism. As the participants settled in, she felt a ripple of courage surge through her. Thank you for being here today, she began, her voice steady, firm. The connection was palpable. The audience leaned in, fascinated. Her introduction flowed seamlessly into a narrative that demonstrated the impact of health on familial bonds in real and relatable terms. She was vulnerable, sharing the ups and downs, the giggles over odd food combinations, and the triumphs when she conquered the kitchen with nutritious meals. When she moved into the core of her workshop, presenting common misconceptions about food, the engagement amplified. Hands raised eagerly, participants chiming in with their thoughts and experiences. Together, they unraveled myths and explored the truths that fortified her beliefs. The energy in the room swelled as Martha invited differing opinions, positioning each debate not as a clash, but as an opportunity for growth. The culmination of this experience came when a participant questioned, "How do you overcome the skepticism you face from family?" It was a pivotal moment, her heart pounding, but her voice unwavering. "It's not about forcing change. It's about sparking curiosity," she replied. Then, she shared how her own son, Jake, had shocked her with his acceptance of healthier meals. Sometimes, it takes patience and adaptability, but ultimately, it's about leading by example, not dictation. Applause erupted as she concluded, the warmth of acceptance wrapping around her like a well-fitted cloak. Every bit of praise felt earned. Every laugh and nod from her audience signaled ripples of shared understanding. She had crafted not just a workshop, but a dynamic conversation that empowered others in their culinary journeys. After the session wrapped up, she received affirming nods and heartfelt expressions of gratitude. "You've inspired me to shift my family's diet," one participant exclaimed. The validation resonated deeply within her. Weeks rolled on, and within that span, Martha found herself not just sharing information, but actively advocating for healthier living through collaborations, newsletters, and community-driven discussions. Her voice became a beacon for other mothers women who shared her struggles and triumphs in caring for their families through food. Martha reflected on her transformation, contrasting her prior self-doubt with the confidence she now exuded. Her persistence had led to sincere connections and tangible impact. Crafting not just a role for herself, but carving out a space where she could lead others. One sunny afternoon, she glanced at the latest issue of a health magazine on her kitchen table. Her contribution on family nutrition graced its pages. This was not merely a feather in her cap, but a solid testament to her journey, a culmination of insights that featured not only her expertise, but the very essence of her story and passion. Martha Santos stood transformed, utterly confident in her newfound authority and embraced as an advocate for health and families. She had conquered self-doubt, carved out her identity, and above all, she had learned to share her kitchen with not just her family, but with the world, a living legacy of love and empowerment. Don't let the next moment slip. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Every bit truly makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about this inspiring journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion. You need to show your support now. Become a part of these impactful narratives.